Okay, so we're starting from Hey. The Rebbe explained here that how we get the makifim from Sukkot, how they come down from a hemshech from Rosh Hashanah, a hemshech from Yom Kippur. On Sukkot, we get the sechach, we get the makifim, and the various different madreges that it brings to shalom, it brings to peace, because you're bringing it down from higher madrege. So now we'll start in Ois Hayes. Behine hakavone b'hamshachas hamakifim desukehi. But what is the intent? What do we want with the sukkah? We don't want things to just remain in an encompassing way, in a surrounding way. We want to bring down that encompassing, it should come down into an inside. And that's why following the sukkah, the next morning, sukkah starts at nighttime, the night of sukkahs. But the next morning, we take the lulav. The lulav brings down, draws down the makif into a pnimi, and that's why when we shake the lulav, we bring it to our chest, which means we want to bring it down into the heart, and the heart then later on spreads it out to the rest of the limbs. So he says, the idea, the kavone b'amshochas hamakifim desukahi, sheyumshechu v'yifalu gam b'pnimi. So they should extend and they should impact also in the inside. Zehu inyan nitilas daled minim habo behemshech lebasukas teshu. This is the idea of taking the four species, which comes as a follow-up to basukas teshu. First, you sit in the sukkah. Starts off with the nighttime. You sit in the sukkah, and then the next morning you take the mitzvah of lulav in the sukkah. The mitzvah yeshiva v'sukkah him hascholas shivas yimei hasukkah. The mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah is from the beginning of the 7 days of sukkahs, which is from the night of sukkahs. And afterwards in the morning. Either ba'alais hashachar oy minei tzachamo. Either dawn, that would be the first opportunity to do it, or you have to wait till the Neitzachamo. References to Shulchan Aruch. So over there, you should really wait till Neitzachamo. But the first thing in the morning, maschila mitzvahs netilas daled minim. That's when the mitzvah of taking the four species begins, as soon as it gets the morning, the next day. Because that's the idea of the four species, is to take the hamshacha from the sukkahs, which started in the first night of sukkahs, to bring it down into, internalize it, to bring it in a pnimis. The hine inyan nitilas daled minim hu. The idea of taking this four species is lahamshich hamakiv de sukkah bipnimius, to draw down that makiv, that encompassing of the sukkah, to an inner, to internalize into the inside. Okay, as explained in Kabbalah, in Bishnas Chasidim, uba Chasidus, and in Chasidus, she'inyan hana'anuyim hu lahamshich b'chinas hadas benukva dezo. What is the idea that we shake the lulav? We shake the lulav, we shake it, top and the bottom, and then we shake it also to the four corners. This is representing the 6 spheres, and you bring it to the chest, which represents the malchus. That is to bring down she'inyan hanenuyim ulahamshich b'chinas hadas benukva dezo, to draw down the level of das into. I mean, as I said myself, the Nanuim, the different doesn't say here about the different the different levels, but it's what it says is that you bring down the level of das into the feminine of Zoh, which is Malchus of Zoh, Ha'omedes, that stands b'chozer de Zoh, at the chest of Zoh. That's the level of where the nukva of Zoh is, and that's why you bring it to the chest. You bring the nanuyim, bring it to the chest to bring it down to the chest. Shalochein tzorich. That's why it's necessary. Shalulav uminov yagiu yigu b'chozer. That it's necessary that the lulav and its species should reach the chest. So, what is the idea of bringing it down all to the way to the level of nukva, to the level of malchus, to the level of nukva de Zoh? That means that we bring it down all the ways below into the world, because malchus is the recipient, which is mamshich into the world. So the nanuyim basically are taking the makifim through the level of das and bringing it down to the chozer, to the nukva de Zoh. The inyan hamshocha benukva hu. What is the idea when it's drawn down into nukva, into malchus? Shehamshocha tiyeh gam binyonei ha'olam, so that this should extend, draw it down also into the matters of the world. You shouldn't just draw down bipnimius, but not to come down in the world. We want it to come down also in the world. Ad linyonei olam haza hatachten shein tachten lamato mimenu. It should come down all the ways to this low world. Now, this is the lowest world. There is nothing lower than this world. This is the furthest place where things can come down to. That's the lowest. So we want to draw it down to Malchus, so it comes down into this world. And therefore, Gam Peulas Hasholim Shal Yidei Hamshochas Hadas, also the effect, the impact of Sholem that we have through Hamshochas Hadas, Leman Yedu Deresechem, we said before, Ikulam Yedu Oisi. So the impact of Sholem, which comes down through bringing down Das, it comes down igam lemato ba'olam hazatachten, that it comes down also in this low world that we're in. We also have the impact. We have the level of sholem, the level from the makif, influencing this world below hatachten. The dugmas le'osin lovoi. This is similar to the future to come when we say shelo yareyu v'lo yashchisu. They will not do bad and they will not destroy, because the oretz, kimola ha'oretz de'esavaya, that the level of das is going to be nimshach in the oretz, and that's why even in the oretz is going to be impacted. Lo yoreyu v'lo yashchisu. There's going to be no damages and no hurting. All the animals will live together because the impact of sholem, the impact of das, comes down in Oretz, Kimala Oretz. That's bringing it down into the Lulav, into the Chazah, the Zoh, into Malchus. So, what is the connection? Why does it mean that when we have Das, we'll have Sholem? And the Rebbe explains now that when there is a level of Das, when you get to a little bit higher level, then there's no fighting. A child, for example, gets very excited, getting upset, and will start screaming and fighting over small stuff. But because his level of das is limited, and therefore he doesn't control. His das doesn't control his emotions. But when there is the level of das, Over there, the impact of das is that there is peace, there's no argument, there is tolerance, and then you can accept. The Rebbe explains, what the connection that the land, the earth will be filled with das, so that they won't do bad and they won't destroy. What is it? Where do arguments and fights come from? Because of smallness in the level of das. If das is not big, doesn't have a wide das, then there is machlokes, then there is this fighting. It's known, the example for this idea, that a minor who doesn't have the level of das, if you don't do what he wants, you don't fulfill his wishes, immediately he gets angry. If you don't do what he wants, he gets right angry because he's a minor. He doesn't have the level of das. As explained in the holy book of Tanya, over there it says that the minor gets angry from small stuff because he doesn't have the level of das, and therefore he gets angry right away. As a person, the adult who has das, he can tolerate also the opposite, so he's not getting angry because he tolerates the other thing, das. That's why when there will be the level of das in the world, over there will be peace in the world itself because of the level of das, because das provides for tolerance and for being able to take the opposite. Similar to this is also in the concept of the shalom that comes from the sukkah. We say leman yedu deresechem. It brings down the level of das also in this world. The mekivon she'inyan hasukkah hu k'moshe kosuf. Leman yedu, since the idea of sukkahs is as it says, so there should be yedu, there should be das. L'chein hadah idei hadas hanimshach al idei hasukkah, through the das, which extends through the level of the sukkah, nasa sholem, that brings about sholem. That's why it's sukkah shloimecha, a sukkah of peace. And that's why he says that's the idea, is to take this makif and the level of das to bring it down in apnimius, and that's the nedalid minim, to bring it down till malchus, till the level of nukva dezot, so that it impacts even in this world, similar to what we say that li'osid love, because of the das. That's why there will be lo yareyu v'lo yashchisu, as he explains, because if there is a lots of das, then there is tolerance, and therefore, by being mamshich by sukkah as well, from the level of das, from the level of makif to come down das into the world, that brings the sholem, and that brings sukkah shlemecha. So, how do we bring all this down? The pasuk, I mean, it sounds nice that to bring down the level of das, the makif, but the real question is, how do we accomplish that? The Eibishter, that's what the pasuk says. The Rebbe will explain. Ki basukos hoishafti is bnei Yisrael. The first one who's mamshich the level of das is the Eibishter, because the Eibishter says basukos hoishafti is bnei Yisrael. And then the Yidden through the sukkahs continue this. That's why we say leman yedu deresechem, in order to get the das for the future generation. It's ki basukas shafti comes from the Eibishter. Vav. Omnom bichdei lahamshich hamakiv the sukkah. Bebchinas pnimiyus. However, in order to draw down the makiv of sukkah, that it should come down in an inner, to the extent that it should come down in a way that is settled to come it down. So even when we say pnimius, the lulav, but it's also by sukkah's teshvu, we want to bring it down, not just in a pnimi, it should be settled, but b'chinas yishashus, kimoi, shekos b'sukkah's teshvu. So that's the beginning, yashvus, and then it comes down also to the level of nukva dezah through the netilas daled minim, ba'at shal yidei netilas daled minim, to the extent that when we take the 4 species, yom shech zeh gam b'chinas nukva dezah, this should also extend into the level of nukva of zah, into the level of malchus. That's where we want to bring it down. So a pnimius could be not to the extent of malchus. It could be in the sevirus. It can be on the upper level, but it should come down in the chinas nukva dezah, the hagam shehamakiv de sukkah hu naile b'yosa. So this is something really amazing that has to take place, because we're taking the makif of sukkah. It's not just a regular makif; it's a greater makif, because we said before the sukkah is all encompassing versus the makif of a garment. Say, ukenal, as we said earlier, shamakif the sukkah ulamailo afilu mehischalkus. That it's higher than even the partition, the separation. A garment for the head, a separate garment for the body, a separate body for the foot. So a levush is a makif, but the garments are separate. But the sukkah is much higher than that. It encompasses all at once. Balachas kamo v'kamo, and it doesn't even have the garment. Certainly, it's not divided. Then the head, body, and the foot itself. It doesn't have even the ischalkus of the makifim of the reish guf regel. But certainly, it doesn't have the ischalkus of the reish guf regel himself. So we're taking a very high makif, and we want mikol mokoim yiyeh bozeh inyan ha'is yashus, and still we want that this should be his yashus basukas teshus. How do we do that? Bo habiur. So that's why the pasuk explains this. Ki basukos shafti as bnei Yisrael b'yitzia oiso meretz Mitzrayim. For I have settled the bnei Yisrael in sukkahs when I took him out of Mitzrayim. It all started from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter, Ani Hamaschil, like we say, Vayered Avai al Har Sinai, who connects the pieces, the Sha'alyonim, to come down to the Tachtonim. Hashem says, I will start, Vayered Hashem. The Eibishter is the one that starts to bring down the Makif in a Pnimi. Va'al Yidei Zeh, that the Eibishter settled us in the sukkahs. He made his yashvus from the sukkahs. Nimshach nesinas hakoyach sheyiyeh basukkahs teshvu. That gives the power that you should be able to settle the sukkah down, is because basukkahs yishavti. But the pasuk doesn't just say ki basukkahs yishavti. The pasuk says leman yedu deresechem. So that it's not just like a miracle that basukkahs yishavti. That should come down in the level of das. Va'omer al zeh leman yedu. And it says so that they know. In other words, this comes down in the level of das. She'inyan ha'yeshiva b'sukkah. This sitting in the sukkah needs to bring the person to the recognition. It needs to bring him to the level of das. Tzarich liyas loy be'oifan dechuka chokakti. Gezeira gazarti, not in the way I have decreed this. I've made a statue. You have to do so. Then it wouldn't say leman yedu. Then it would say you sit basukas ki basukas shafti. Sure. What does it say leman yedu? No. We wanted kim sheyumshach v'yovay b'das. We wanted to extend and come down to the level of das bipnimius in inside. And then we say shivas yomim yumshach gam b'chinas hazman. We wanted to also extend to the level of time in this world, in the definition of time. The zeu basukas teshvu shivas yomim. That's why it says basukas you should sit for 7 days. Now, saying basukas teshvu shivas yomim means it should come down in all times, even though it's only 7 days, but 7 days has the entire circle of all the days of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Shabbos, all the circle. So when we're saying Basukas Teishu Shivas Yomim, it's essentially saying bring down the level of Makif in the 7 days, because these 7 days encompasses all the level of Zman. The Shivas Yomim Koilelim Kol Meshach Hazman, the 7 days, they include the entire duration of time, the whole Meshach, the extended time takes up B'chol Hashinuyim Shobehem, and all the changes that take place from day to day. Ukemevuar Bekama Mekoimes Ala Posik, as explained in many places. On the Posik, it says, Nar Hayisi Gam Zukanti. Nar means young and also old, which means Shebechol Yom Rishon B'Shavua, that every Sunday in the week, Maschil Mechodesh or Inyan the Shivas Yimei Breshis. It doesn't become the 8th day. The next Sunday is not the 8th day, and then following is not. It's a repetition. Shebechol Yom Rishon B'Shavua Maschil Mechodesh. You start again, Inyan the Shivas Yimei Breshis. You go back to the Shivas Yimei Breshis. And this is the idea that we want it to be B'Shivas Yomim, is al derech, that's like we said before, Mashin Isbair Li'il, Sha'yidei Hamnanuyim Mamshichim B'Bchinas Hanukva. When you shake the lulav, you bring it down into the level of Nukva B'Bchinas Malchus, which is the level of Malchus. Sheyascholas Inyan Hazman, from Malchus begins the idea of time. So the Rebbe says that the Posik continues. We need to be Mamshich the Makif in the Pnimi. How do we do that? Is because Basuka Shavti. How do we take such a high level of Makif, which is even higher than the Makifim of the Levush Reish, because there is no Ischalkus, and bring it down that it should be settled, is because Hashem started it off, Basuka Shavti. And this needs to come down into the level of Das Leman Yedu. And also that this comes in the level of Zman, Shivas Yomim, that means basically Zman, which is the same thing as we said before. This is the Sukkah Hashafti. And before we were talking about the Lulav that comes in to bring Bipnim, is to bring down up to the Chozer. He says, up to the chest, which is the Chozer Dizah, which is the level of Malchus, which is the beginning of Zman. But then the Rebbe brought out also in the beginning that there is 2 psukim. One pasuk says Basukas Teishu, then it says Vaiter Kol Ezrach b'Yisrael. What does it add? Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael, all the residents of Israel should sit in the sukkah that I've asked. Sign. Mamshech because of kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkahs. All the residents by the Yidden should sit in the sukkah. V'tzarich lahavin. So we need to understand harei hatzivui b'sukkahs teishu l'chol Yisrael. Sukkahs teishu is for all Yidden. Umam noisi b'chol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael gomer. What does he add when he says all the residents of Israel? But inyan bozeh, the idea here is the word ezrach is like the future. Ezrach, the ezrach koyi ala bechina shetizrach la'osid. That the ezrach, the future, that level which is shine, zricha, ezrach, loshen zricha, in the future will also come in the sukkah. V'lochein tevas ezrach mascheles be'alef starts with an aleph, and aleph is the future. Shehi me'ha'ois yos ha'mishamshesh al osid. Level aleph is the future. V'zehu kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkah. So this means also in the future, Bayin will also settle in the sukkah. Sheyesh b'zeh beis pirushim. There's two interpretations. First of all, shemitzad b'chinas ha'ezrach shetiyah la'oseh. Because of the level of ezrach, the shine, the giluim of the future, by Yidden. B'chinas ha'ezrach b'Yisrael shetiyah la'oseh. That high level, yesh kayach kam achshav shiyeh b'sukkos teishu. So now we also have the kayach because of the future. Shagam b'chinas. And so that's one part, one pirush. So basically, how do we have the koyach now? Because of the level that will have be lost. But the second pirush is shagam b'bchinas ezrach b'Yisrael. Even in the highest level ezrach b'Yisrael, v'gam k'meshatiyah lost, also the way it will be in the future, which is a high level gam b'chinazu mitoisef al yidei yeshiva b'sukkah. That is also added to that. The sitting in the sukkah adds to even to that higher level. Yesh loymar zeu atam shemitzvah sukkah tiyilos in lovei v'yeser seis v'yeser ois. This is also the reason, because of the second, that the mitzvah sukkah in the future will be with more force, with more strength. That we do the Haftorah and the Nevuah of Zechariah, in which we do Haftorah and Sukkah. So basically, the pasuk says not only the way we're now, but Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkos. Either that higher level that will be Ezrach b'Yisrael, we have the koyach yeshu b'sukkos now, or even the level of Ezrach b'Yisrael will be added yeshu b'sukkos. The sukkahs will add to them on a higher level, and that's why the Rebbe says in the Haftorah we find that there is also a special about about the way it's going to be this festival of sukkahs. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Okay.
And we'll be mamshuk. Okay.
Okay. Yeshkoach, Rabbi.
Bye.
See you later.